Welcome to the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast, where we don't take from insurance companies. Here are your hosts, Mr. Jordan Comstock and Mr. Ben Tuine. This podcast is sponsored by BoomCloud Dental Membership Software, www.boomcloudapps.com, and Veritas Dental Resources, www.veritasdentalresources.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast. I am your host today, Jordan Comstock. Ben is not with us today. He's out playing or something. I have no idea what he's doing. He's a busy guy lately. But with me today, I have a special guest. Her name is Lynne Leggett. She is the founder and CEO of Victory Dental Management. She's been in the dental industry for over 16 years, started as a practice. Now she's helping practices succeed, which is fantastic. I met Lynne, I think it was at the Hinman, right, Lynne?
Yeah, that was when first time face-to-face.
Face-to-face, first time. Welcome to our show. How are you doing this morning?
Thank you. I am doing fantastic. It's great being with you.
Yeah. Remind me, where are you from? Where are you at again? I can't remember.
I am actually in Richmond, Virginia. In
Virginia. Fantastic. And, of course, everyone knows that I'm here in Utah, and it's a cloudy, rainy day today, which is good because it's been extremely hot.
Cool. I'm sorry it's cloudy and rainy. We're going to be getting that later, I think.
Yeah. No, it's good. I always like the change because it's been extremely hot. I went camping this last weekend up in the mountains here in Utah, and it was so freaking hot up there. I thought I was going to die. But
yeah, come to Virginia for the humidity.
Yeah, Virginia has tons of humidity.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I kind of like the humidity. Here in Utah, it's dry. And it kind of gets annoying after a while. The humidity is kind of nice. I lived in Brazil for a few years, and it was really humid there, and I kind of liked it. So,
oh wow! Really humid. Okay, well then you might like Virginia.
Yeah,
you can't ski here like you can ski there.
To be honest with you, and everyone on the show knows this, but I hate the snow. I don't know why I live in Utah. I'm not. I live in Utah. That's what everyone here loves to do, especially obviously during the wintertime. And the crazy thing is this year, Lynne, there's typically around this time all the snow's melted, but again, I went camping up the mountains this last weekend, and there's still snow at the tops of the mountains, which we had a ton of snow this year, and it's still not melted, which is crazy. I've never seen that. So, but I hate it. I hate the snow.
Oh my gosh!
yeah, it's pretty crazy.
It's August. What is up with
I know. It's out on the top of the mountains, right? It's not down in the valley, obviously, because it's like 100 degrees down here. But yeah, it's up the top of the mountains. It's still up in the mountains. It's really hot, but up at the peaks, there's still snow. So it's
you've got
crazy.
Real mountains, and we've got. I guess we could compare them as hills.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, yeah.
If they wants to really get into skiing, they're going to go west of Virginia.
Yeah, west of Virginia. Yeah, like a couple years ago, I'll give you this quick story, and then we'll get to your stuff. I hiked Mount Timpanogos, which is a big mountain here in Utah. It took me. I think I got to the base of the mountain. I think like at 4:00 in the morning, and it took me the entire day to get to the top. The majority of the day to get to the top. I think I got down to the bottom because you go faster when you go down, right? Mm-hmm. I got to the point where my knees were like crazy swollen because they just couldn't take the just climbing the mountain. I should have prepared better. I have to admit. But by the time I got down, I think it was like, it was a whole work day. I got home I think at 6:00. I guess more than a work day, right? I got home at like 5 or 6 o'clock. I was beat, but that's how big our mountains are. They take a long time to climb up if you're crazy enough to do it. Yeah. So I'm really excited about this episode today. Lynne has just written a book. Let me get the title. It's called "You Can't Coach Quit." Is that like on Amazon? Tell us a little bit about that, Lynne.
It is.
Okay.
You are able to pull it up on Amazon either by the title or by my name, and so far I've gotten some really great reviews.
Great. Yeah, and before this call, we both were talking, and today we're going to be talking about why employees do not equal a team. And I think this is really great for everyone listening to learn from, but also myself. I'm really excited to learn because I, like you guys, I'm a business owner, and I have a team and people that I'm working with. So I'm really excited about this topic, Lynn. So first of all, before we get started, tell us a little bit how you got started in dentistry.
Well, it was really weird because I used to be in medicine, the pharmaceutical industry, but before that, transportation and logistics. And my best friend said, I need somebody to come in and run our practice. And she knew that that was not something that would be great for her marriage, for her and her husband, who happened to be the general dentist. Uh-huh. And she said, I would much rather you do this. And that was my entry into dentistry because I was like, you know what? You teach me dentistry. I'll teach you how to run this as a business. And it was a great relationship. And I love learning. I don't think we ever stop learning.
Sure.
And the one thing that my parents were happy about is after 5 years of Latin, I actually got to use some Latin in dentistry.
Oh, nice.
All the root words are Latin based. So I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you, I'm going to get the geek in me out, when it comes to this stuff between Latin, science, and math. It's all in there. But anyway, you probably could figure that out about me already.
Sure, yeah. So that's how you got started, and then obviously you've been over 16 years. You're part of the ADMC, which stands for the Academy of Dental Management Consultants, which I am also a part of. We're both members in that. So which is a huge deal as a consultant, in my opinion, because you do get vetted and they go through training and learning on that, which is good for your practice. So let's get started here. I want to know, let's define the word team, right? What does it mean? Because it seems like most every dentist thinks they have a team working for them. But let's kind of define that so we can talk the details.
Okay. Well, I tell you, like the general definition of a team is a group of people that come together to achieve like a common goal, right?
Uh-huh, yeah.
And that's just a really broad definition. And I know during our discussion it's going to get more specific to dentistry.
Sure.
But employees are not the same thing because all they are is a group of people who work for an organization.
Yeah.
And that's a huge dichotomy, between the two.
Is it like an employee? Do they not? Let's say the organization have a goal. They have a goal, but the employee is not involved in that goal. Is that kind of how you define it?
Well, I would say that a successful dental team is a group of people that work together cohesively towards the goals of the doctor or owner.
Cool.
And that's a huge difference.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So that's the main definition of a team is working together to one goal versus coming to the office and just doing whatever you feel like and not really paying attention to what the patients need and the practice wants. Right? That's exactly that type of employee. we all know of them, right? What do you have?
We do.
Go ahead.
I was going to say we do, and that's the biggest fallacy of them all. And I love dentists, and the ones that I work with, I give them kudos because they're reaching out for help. That's like the first step, if you will. It's
sure.
Like, hey, I didn't learn this in dental school, so I need some help with this, and I want to honor that because that's a really big step. And when you have a group of people, I hear it from dentists all the time, right? I don't know why they can't just do their job. If I had a penny every time I heard that, and then when I start, peeling the layers back and going, okay, well, why did you expect, so-and-so to really know what you wanted? Because you didn't fully explain what you wanted, but then how did that relate to everybody else?
Yeah.
So that's why I love, like the idea of coaching, because, we've talked about this before. Uh-huh. I coach girls AAU basketball away from the dental world.
Sure,
so
yeah.
To me, there's a huge difference when you're coaching, and that's one of the reasons why I love teaching dentists or office managers how to coach their teams once they have a team, because that's really leadership in a very actionable way,
Sure,
in an
yeah.
actionable manner.
I mean,
and it's a totally different thing than what everybody else is talking about.
looking back, Lynn, and thinking about my own life, so I was on the wrestling team in high school, and some of the best learning experiences were from my coach, right? And I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Where coaches are like the great example of a great leader, right? Most of the time, right?
Hopefully.
But hopefully, yeah. Hopefully, if they're good, right? If they're succeeding
Mm-hmm.
with their team, absolutely. So I remember, I mean, a lot of the experiences that I went through working with coaches have always been positive, and they're always memorable, and I still use the stuff I learned from them today in my life, right? Even though it was on a wrestling team. So yeah, I agree with you on that. That's a very awesome mindset to have that. How, if a practice owner is thinking, this is just a question that I'm thinking of, if they want to be more like a coach, like, and build a team, like, what are some tips that you have for them there?
Oh my gosh. I wrote a whole book about that, actually.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, there's so many things, because talking about leadership and being a coach, I mean, I'm going to use basketball as an example, because
Sure,
that's what I played and that's what I coach. So pick a coach that you like. One of the reasons why I like talking about leadership from a coaching standpoint is because everybody knows what a coach does, and you can put yourself in their position, right? You know what the goal is.
Uh-huh.
But the one thing about in dentistry, and you think about coaching, a coach just doesn't show up on game day with their team and say, okay, we're ready. There's so much prep that's involved, like for wrestling, for you, that was involved before you ever hit the mat in a match.
Sure, yeah.
And
heavy.
And when you bring exactly, and when you bring everybody together with you, you're all on the same page. You all know what your role is. I mean, when I coach basketball, I'm not going to get into the X's and O's, because I can really go down that rabbit hole. So if I veer off, let me know, Jordan. Bring me back to reality.
Yeah.
But your players 1 through 5, and I know I even have roles for my players that are not going to be my starters. I know what I want my team to do when they're on the bench. So I have a role for everybody. If they're going to be involved with me, there's a role for everybody. Because as a coach, if you have a player in foul trouble, you need to know what's your next step to be able to switch out players. So
Sure.
it's this whole being able to adapt. Well, what do we do in a dental office all day long? We adapt. And as a provider, you're adapting to the situation that's in front of you. You may have started out to do something restorative, but the plan changes a little bit.
Sure.
Or you may have started out as a hygienist and go, okay, we were going to do this, but we got some perio issues now.
Sure.
Or treatment planner, this is what we were going to do, but that's going to change a little bit. Or for the scheduler, oh, guess what? Now I need to find a place where we can put in an emergency. So all day long, we adapt depending on what the circumstances are. So you think about, that's all change. But unless the whole group is on board, how do we handle all of those things that are the exception to the rule, then nobody's on the same page. And
Sure.
then that's when you start getting the front and the back conflict and all these other things that can happen because we didn't do the right prep time and practice. Oh yeah, let me define something. There is actually a practice time and a game time in dentistry. And the way that I define it is practice time is when you're not seeing patients.
Sure.
Game time is when you're seeing patients. So that's a different way for dentists to be able to say, you know what, I need to spend a lot more time in practice because I need to prepare my team for game time. And it's just a nice visual representation of this is how I can do it. Because a lot of people talk about leadership and a lot of, the buzzwords for today, but, let's cut through that. I'm all about actionable things. Let's take that into action. What does that mean for me? How do I do it?
Yeah, no, I love that. I love that. Yeah. We talked about the difference of an employee and a team and what defines a team. Why is it so important to have a team versus a bunch of employees?
Oh, because then again, having a team means that they're going to be able to anticipate the next move of their teammate because they are so well versed and focused on what the next thing is that they're going to trust their teammates take care of things correctly the first time also. So it's that whole bonding process. If you think about, again, I'm going to go back to basketball.
Sure.
If you're going to run a certain play, you're going to know who you pass the ball off to, where they need to be on the floor, because you practice it. It doesn't matter if somebody's guarding them or not guarding them. You know what the next move is going to be. And every player has a particular style. The biggest thing is the anticipation part, because that's what separates everybody else. You should have trust that the next person in line of whatever it is you're talking about is going to be able to do things the way that they should do them. And you're going to trust that they're done correctly the first time.
Sure. Yeah.
So everybody, with that said, though, Jordan, all of the processes that happen in your office need to be broken down, and everybody needs to understand their individual role and responsibility in relation to that. How does it affect them, and how does it affect the practice, and how does it affect everybody else?
Yeah, I agree on that. And I think most of the time practice owners don't define those roles, right? And that causes some confusion. And like, hey, they're asking me to do this, but I didn't realize that this is what I got hired on for, right? It's kind of confusing.
Yes.
And that I can imagine that creates confusion, resentment in certain cases, right? I mean, my entire family's worked in the dental industry. I know some of the situations that go on, right, in regards to that, right?
Sure.
So and well, even I'm thinking about the dental lab when that's kind of where I came from that's exactly where I came from in the dental industry. And I love my dad, and he managed that lab. That they're doing great things, but he never defined a role for anybody, and it was really confusing for us. And we didn't have a goal to work on as a team as well. Like, it was really vague and unclear. And looking back, like, we didn't have a team. We were just a group of people working together as employees, just waiting for the next paycheck, right?
Right.
That's what we want to avoid in any business, whether it's a practice or a company like mine, a software company. We want to avoid. We want to build a team that's committed to the goal. Have you read the book Traction?
I have not.
I'm trying to find it because I bought the whole series. It talks a lot about what we're talking about today, Lynn, where defining goals and getting the team and building a culture inside of a business and making it everyone on the same page. And I think that's a really fascinating topic in business that I think is overlooked quite a bit in dentistry. But that's kind of my thoughts. But I think that, the good practices, that you have it figured out with the culture and the team. You walk in their office and you can feel a difference. I don't even know how to explain it, but you can feel a difference than versus walking to an office that, maybe has more employee mindset type people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, and the big piece that I always hear from dentists, because I can be brought in to talk about, hey, my practice produced this amount, but I want to go up to this range. How do I do it? And every time I go in, the first thing I'm looking for is, to me, taking and changing employees into a team is so foundational, and that has to be so strong before we start working on processes and systems. Because if not, you're just on this treadmill of you're not going anywhere because nothing's going to change, right? Mm-hmm. That's that definition of insanity, doing the exact same thing and expecting a different result.
Sure, yeah.
But I think the one word that separates, forget employee and team for a minute, it's that accountability piece.
Yeah.
But in order to be accountable to anything, you've got to know, what am I accountable for? What are the boundaries? And that goes back to what you were saying before about the ability to have the culture and the practice, and what do you want to take place, the goals. All of those things are included. But what I have found is dentists know what they want, but they're at point A and they want to get to point D, and they do not know how to get from A to D without any help.
Yeah.
And that part right there would make the biggest difference in their practice, and for them to even enjoy the HR stuff. Because once you get all of these things clear, you're not going to have the same things pop up that you have to deal with.
Sure.
I know dentists love the op. That's their happy place.
Yeah.
They would love to be in the operatory all day long, and I get it. But until they start handling these things in a different manner, then they can have that joy of being in the operatory again and stop thinking from a clinical standpoint and have to switch to business owner, because that's a huge shift that they've got to do all day long, and that takes a lot of energy back and forth.
Yeah, and I look at my day, and I don't have to do those types of shifts, right? I'm primarily on the business side of my company, and I can't imagine, I guess I can, because when I worked at the dental lab, it was a similar scenario where, part of my day I was working and working on crowns and doing all that stuff, and then my other part of the day was trying to switch and maybe do a marketing campaign or work on something in the business, and it is a huge cost of like switching. It's a huge mindset shift that takes a lot of energy to do. So if a practice, if they think they have employees and they want to move to like going the team route, like what do they need to do?
The biggest thing that I would say is to take a step back and go, okay, because for me, teamwork boils down to one word, and that's communication.
Yeah.
Everybody's got to understand how their role and responsibility works within the practice. So take a step back and go, is that clear?
Yeah.
Because until everybody is clear on their role and responsibility, then after that happens, and within that process, doctors also, they've heard mission and vision for so many years. And I'm not doing it like it was done in the 80s, trust me. The way I do it is totally different.
Sure.
But that is part of a coach. That goes back to your coaching philosophy. What is it that you want to accomplish? Because like for me, I'm highly competitive. You know that about me. And I love to win. But I want my clients to win too. And you can win in dentistry, but it means something different for them than it does like a sports team.
Sure.
But it's all in the preparation for that. And then being able to say, you know what? Only after you've gotten everybody on the same page can you really start seeing and filling in the deficits, because everybody has strengths.
Yeah. So what?
So as the coach.
Sure. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, and then I'll ask my question.
Okay. So as the coach, one of the things is you need to understand the strengths and weaknesses of, let's say, their team members now. You need to understand that. And part of that is, as the coach of the practice, you've got to be able to say, this is what we're all doing together. This is the core value of the practice. This is our mission. This is our vision. How do we work that out? Mm-hmm. And that's all interrelated within the culture. So it's a bigger picture of everything working together. But that's why I love the analogy of coaching a team, because then it puts all of that stuff, those words I just said,
it really does,
into something they can vision, they can see it, and they're like, oh, I know how to break this down. Because even if they haven't played sports at all, maybe their children have played. Or one thing I always like to talk about too, since I did some theater and music growing up as well.
Oh, nice.
If you didn't play sports, then look at your conductor or your director as the coach, because that's exactly what they did.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So break everything down, and it's all a process. It's always a process.
So I love that. I'm huge into music. I'm sure. I had a band in high school and everything. Well, I still do. But yeah, there's definitely some leadership lessons, through that, as well as the sports analogy. But I love this. And I think a lot of the times people think about leadership and it seems like a big scary word that they got to figure out, but it really is as simple as, a coach for a sports team and emulating the successful coaches out there. Mm-hmm. One of the questions I had that a listener may have is, if they're struggling with their employees, trying to get them to be a team, what are some ways they can get on the same page? What are some simple ways to do that?
Simple way is, if they're struggling, then I need to ask the doctor, or in this case the coach, what is your plan? Uh-huh. What have you communicated clearly with your team? Because if you've hired the right people, now I know that's a big if.
Yes.
But let's go with that for the purposes of our conversation. If you've hired the right people, then getting them to have the ability to follow your instruction that should be easy.
Yeah.
if they're the right people.
Yes.
And they should already have all the things we want, the empathy, the caring, that, they're showing up on time, they're being there for the huddle. I'm assuming all of those things when I say this.
Yes.
But a lot of that is, if it's the right person that's been hired, then they just need some clarity to understand what is it that you want them to do. Because if they're not functioning high enough, then what is it that you want them to do? For basketball, we work on drills. Well, the way I do drills,
Sure.
There's a direct relation between that with the plays that I'm going to run. I'm not going to have them do extraneous stuff because it doesn't make a difference at a certain point. But everything they do with me is going to be to prep for game time. I don't want somebody trying something new in a game that they've never done before. Like, I'm not going to have somebody shoot a three-pointer, and I'm not going to draw up a play for them to do that if they're not a great three-point shooter. That would be ignorant on my part. And
Totally.
I meant to say this earlier, one of the reasons why, the biggest thing for a coach is you want to put your team in a position to succeed. Now, that is a different definition for a lot of different doctors. What does that
Sure.
mean for different practices? But it's the coach's job to be able to prepare the team for game time. And it's back in that prep that we've been talking about, that all of these things need to take place. And it's not a 5-minute conversation. This is a process that you've got to go over. That's why it's a really big deal when you hire a new person. Are
Yeah.
they going to gel in with the people that you currently have, the team that you currently have working with you?
Sure.
But it goes back to the doctor's expectations of what they're looking for, and then their mission and vision of what they want. Because I find a lot of doctors put up with a lot of behavior that is not acceptable.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And so number one, get clear on your vision, your mission, and whatever goals you may have that relates to that. Correct? And then
Absolutely.
And then step 2, like, have a cadence of meetings or huddles, whatever you call them, right? Where you meet with your team each week or each month. Is that kind of what you recommend? And
until the doctor is clear that everybody understands their role and responsibility, I think that's a one-on-one conversation that they have with their team members to make sure everybody is clear with what the doctor wants.
Sure. Yeah. No, I actually recently kind of dealt with this in my business where, I have roles and responsibilities all laid out in my company, and for some reason, I had one employee that she could never get like what her role was, despite how many times I'd sit down and have a one-on-one with her and break it down. Mm-hmm. And it seemed like she always had questions. I'm like, man, how do I get, I feel like I'm being extremely clear. I write down the job description and what the responsibilities, the goals are, and the expectations for that role. But and I guess that just boils down to sometimes people don't get it, despite how clear you try to be.
Well,
but go ahead.
There's one other section.
Sure. Yeah. Let's hear it.
And sometimes, depending on, and this is, you bring up a great point, and thank you, Jordan, for mentioning what you just said.
Yeah.
Depending on the generation of team member that we're talking about.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
A lot of different generations have wants for different things, right?
Yeah.
But one thing that is consistent that, for me, just cuts across all generations. It's very important for the person that you're talking to, like the example that you're giving, that you had one-on-one coaching with that particular
mm-hmm.
team member. For you, why? What's important to you? Why is it important to her? Why is it important to the organization?
Sure,
and how does all of that work? Because a lot of people, they know the why.
Yeah, I drew it on the whiteboard, the why. Because I'm really big on our why
Okay.
here, right? I drew on the whiteboard. This is why the company needs this role and these goals, right? Which I think I need to do that more. I think, but I did sit down and said this is the why, and I have my little diagrams that I made up because I kind of get into it, but
Awesome.
it's still I still had some just. It still is unclear, and I'll be really transparent. She doesn't like the role she's in, and she wants to be in another role, which there's no availability in the role, and I think that's kind of where it boils down to if I look at it. And I don't know if I'm sure people see that in dental practices as well, where I don't want to be the assistant anymore. I want to be in the front desk or something, and they kind of lack the focus or the determination to do the goals that the company needs for that role. I don't know. I'm just speaking out loud here.
But I like where you're going with that, because it does happen a lot. So one of the things that I do working with clients is, do we have the right people with their strengths in the right role within the practice? Because sometimes you'll find somebody who is just so, I mean, their strengths are just incredible. And to have an assistant that has, that clinical knowledge would make a great, treatment coordinator if they knew, they already know the clinical, but if they're really outgoing and they really love that could be a phenomenal treatment plan coordinator. And maybe they don't want to be an assistant anymore, or they see that as, all right, check, I've done this challenge. Now I want to go on to other things. That happens all the time. So that's also part of the coach, because when you're looking at your team, you need to have that positive environment where people can share with you, go, you know what, doctor, I really enjoy doing this, but I would like to have a new challenge. How can we fit this in? And sometimes it's just creative thinking about how do we fit this all in. And you hear a lot about, positive attitude, mindset, all these other things. It really goes back to, well, I think they're two entirely different things, actually. I think attitude changes with their emotion and environment.
It totally
and
does.
I think mindset is intentional. They're totally different things.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, and a lot of people use them interchangeably, right? They'll say, oh, well, Susie's got this horrible mindset. Well, does she? Because that's an intentional thing. A horrible attitude, is that just today because she got in a horrible argument with her husband before she came to work?
Yeah, or she was on hold with the insurance company for an hour and had no success.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it could be anything. So that's the other thing too about communication and having huddles with your team. A lot of times the clinical part of the team doesn't know what the admin part of the team does, and vice versa. I love people being able to observe and share what's actually happening, because knowledge is a wonderful thing. And if you're not knowledgeable about every area of the practice, let's change that. Let's have some people observe and see what does it really look like to make a crown? Some scheduling coordinators have absolutely no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah. Well, so I'm actually doing something like this week. I'm trying to get better at this. I usually have like department meetings with the people in my company, and some one-on-ones. But this week I'm doing a whole company-wide meeting and just talking, about some of the successes, the goals that we have for the company, and basically having each department report to everybody, on what they do and how they do it and how it went last month, right? And I feel like that's gonna be a huge thing for me and my company to just get everybody, just another step to get people on the same page and with the same goal, right? The same, it's more team oriented, right? Versus having it be siloed out into separate departments. And I think that's kind of one change that I'm making recently in my own company, because I've noticed that, I want more of a team. I feel like my team here is awesome, but I also feel like we can improve, right? So that's kind of one thing that I'm doing to help my organization be on the same page, and to just so we know what each department's doing, and what problems, what successes we're having in each department, and how we can work as a team to help each department. So that's kind of how I'm thinking these days.
The one thing that never goes out of style and is free, and that is gratitude.
Yes.
There's nothing, I say it all the time, just saying thank you or giving specific instructions, like for a doctor and assistant to be working in an operatory, it's close quarters. And if they just move something in the visual field of the doctor, it makes a huge difference. Just moving the suction to a particular area versus another makes something that could be complicated very simple, or can make something very simple be very complicated. It works both ways.
Yeah.
But having that communication, thank you for doing that. And doctors know what I'm talking about. When they're in the groove with their assistants, it is nice. And they can just roll and just crank out the work, and they're happy, and, they're like singing in the back, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But the one thing I love is that culture of appreciation, but also I want the dentist or owner to be able to give feedback like a coach, because you can ask anybody that's ever played for me. They know exactly where they stand with me at all times.
Yeah.
Because feedback is huge. They can't read your mind.
Sure.
And there's nothing worse than having a review and being surprised by something, because I don't want anybody to be surprised, because if somebody's surprised, something went wrong.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be that way.
It shouldn't. No, I agree 100% with that. And see, I'm thinking about my company a lot here, but hopefully it helps, practices. I'm being selfish here on this podcast. But yeah,
okay.
I think that's something that I've lately, as my company has grown and continues to grow, you kind of go, and I started my company from scratch, 0 revenue, 0 employees. And now I'm managing more employees and team members that I've ever had to in my career. So I'm going through my own learning experiences as I go through this. Some painful, some wonderful. Right? It's how it goes. Yep. That's how we learn. But that I agree with you. I think that's something that I myself trying to get better is be a coach. Number one, be grateful for the team that's here and they come and work hard and do the thing, but also have the ability to say, you're awesome. I love you here. I think we can do this better, right? I think if we did this one thing, for you, that you can be a rock star or whatever, right? Whatever word you use to define your amazing people, superstar, right? All-star, whatever. I think that's important. I think that's kind of what I've been learning lately, Lynn, is that so I have another team member here. I won't go into details because they may listen to this. Obviously they're all awesome, but there's one that every 1 month he kills it. He does great. The next month it's kind of like he's had a lot of success in the previous month, and then he kind of relaxes in the next month. And I've early on, I was afraid to tell him that, but now I'm like, hey, dude, this is what I'm noticing. You're killing it the next month, and then you're not doing so hot the following month after that. How can what do you need? How can I help you? And how can we work together to not have that happen, right? And just trying to have those conversations and not feeling like I'm making somebody mad or anything. I think in the early days I felt that way, having those conversations like that, and I would imagine that practice owners kind of have those same feelings. I don't know. I'm just kind of winging it here.
Oh, absolutely. Well, because that really goes back to the culture that you're building, because you've noticed somebody's behavior that has been just kicking it and cranking it out, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And then the next month you're like, okay, well, wait a minute. I know you're capable of doing it because
we were all
you've already
pumped
done it
last month, and now it's like, what the heck happened?
Yeah. But see, that happens all the time, because it's like, okay, you're trying to build that culture or change the culture, and you're like, wait a minute. Because that's one of the reasons why I define culture as what is acceptable or unacceptable, in this case, in your company versus a practice.
Sure, yeah.
Because when did it become okay that people do subpar work, which is exactly what you're seeing?
Yes. No, I love this, yeah. And being comfortable communicating that. And I think that's where it comes down, getting clear. And you guys, I'm not a perfect business owner. I'm learning. I'm hopefully educating you guys on this podcast through my own experience. But I've gone through a point where in my company I'm trying to define my goals, my mission, and trying to relay that more just better to my company, right? And I've noticed a shift when I've started doing this, where my company, we're on the same page, and that's a beautiful thing that in a company, right? You get a group of people together that are working towards the same goal. Can be a wonderful thing for your practice. And I think, I'm in the early stages of kind of refining this and trying to get better at being a leader, because it is a hard role. I would imagine most practice owners, it's hard, but defining what you want, defining your culture. And I like what you said, when is it acceptable to do, subpar work? It's never right? But you see that in teams, right, in sports, and they improve and they try to get better if that's if they see a player doing that. But I really appreciate coming on the show today, Lynn. This has been a really fun episode. I've learned,
good.
and I've hoped all of our listeners have learned something about being a better leader and building a team versus a bunch of employees that are just kind of aimlessly wandering around. That's kind of how I think of it, right? So Lynn, give us some more information on your book. Where can a practice owner or office member buy it, and all that stuff? Give us some more information there.
Okay. You can buy it 2 different places. You can either go to Amazon and look under "You Can't Coach Quit," or
okay.
pull up Lynne Leggett.
Okay, so just
or
spell that real quick so they know. At least your last name.
It's Leggett. Well, I need to spell Lynn too because
you spelled
letters.
it. Yeah,
because my twin sister had 5 letters.
Hey, you have a twin?
I do. We're fraternal.
I'm a twin. Did you know that?
You know what? Now that you mention it, I think we did talk about that at the end.
I'm an identical twin, and he's actually coming. He's joining our company in September, and I'm super excited about it.
Awesome. Well, I'm baby B, and we are fraternal, and she was my roommate in college. So
that's awesome.
That's why Lynn is spelled Lynne with an E on the end.
Awesome. Okay, I didn't mean to distract you there, but I thought that was
okay.
Cool. Okay, go ahead.
But you can also find the book on my website, which is victorydentalmanagement.com. And you can find it there as well.
Cool. So, and then if they want to reach out, do you have questions? Maybe want to talk to you. Maybe you want to hire you for some coaching and consulting. I'm guessing you call it coaching, right?
I do.
Okay.
I do. I can
because you get those.
I think they're 2 different things, but I love the coaching part.
I'm just assuming based off of our conversation, you seem more like a coaching type person, which I think is awesome.
Yes.
So if somebody wants to reach out to you, maybe have the question, maybe talk about having you coach their team, how can they do that?
The easiest thing for them to do is go to my website, which is victorydentalmanagement.com, and fill out the contact form, and I will get that, and we can schedule a time to talk about whatever's on their mind.
Perfect. Awesome. Lynn, any final thoughts for our audience here?
Well, my final thought would be it is never too late, and I don't want any provider out there thinking that, well, I've been doing this for 20 plus years, I'm not going to change. Everything changes, and it's never too late to get the practice that you want to have. So just reach out. I offer a complimentary call. Please reach out, because I don't like anybody questioning or having questions and they don't know where to turn. If working with me if we don't click or anything, that's why I'm a member of ADMC, right?
Yeah.
I have a ton of networking, other coaches and consultants that I can match you up with.
Sure,
so,
yeah. There's a lot of good
that
people
is
there.
perfectly fine. Please reach out. There's no reason for you to ever stress about anything in your practice nowadays.
Cool. Awesome, Lynn. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. This has been a great episode. And for those of you listening, I hope you guys have a great day, and hope you reach out to Lynn.
Thank you. Thanks, Jordan.
Yep, rock on.